How many times have you bought something you didn't need just because it seemed like a bargain? Maybe it was the discount, the last one left, or everyone else had already bought it. And so you told yourself, okay, I'll do it too. Well, you should know it's not your fault, but it's your brain's fault. And starting to understand these mechanisms is very important because it's one of the things that will allow you to have control over your money. So in this video, we're going to look at 7 psychological traps that make us spend more money than we would like, and often even money we don't have, which is a problem for many people. Anyway, before we start, subscribe to the channel. I'm Fabio Marchioni, and on this channel, I talk about saving and managing money, and I help people achieve financial stability. That said, we're going to talk about these 7 traps. I want to point out that the important thing is to have awareness. What does that mean? On one hand, we have a situation where money has control over us. And so we buy things just because they're on sale. We buy just because there's an offer, but we don't really need that product. If we think about it rationally, you know what the problem is? We buy based on emotions and then we rationalize our purchase with logic, like it's just something we do. No, come on, but you know, I needed it because there was this, there was that. Compared to the other one, it was nicer. A bunch of lies we tell ourselves to justify a purchase we didn't need, something that maybe wasn't even within our means. But we all have these psychological tricks that set traps for us. Now, it doesn't mean that when we recognize if there's that marketing strategy, let's call it that, we shouldn't buy that product, because if we buy it consciously, I don't know, for instance, you know, you need something and have been watching it for a while, even if it's not urgent, maybe on Amazon or elsewhere. You know, it costs 200 euros because that's its price. You've looked around, so more or less it costs 200 euros. Is there an offer at 130 only for 7 days or for a certain number of items? It's something you need. It's something you can afford. It's something you thought about before buying it, so you didn't make an impulsive purchase just because there was that offer. All right, because exactly, it's a conscious purchase. So that's the big difference. One is buying only based on emotions because there's a certain offer, let's call it that. And the other is taking advantage of the offer at that moment to spend less, which is still a smart thing to do. For example, I sometimes buy summer items at the end of the season or do the same with winter items. This year for camping, I bought a barbecue. I bought it in March. I saved quite a bit of money. This is a conscious and smart way to take advantage of these strategies, but I've already talked too much. So let's move on to the strategies, to the psychological tricks that make you spend more. So trick number 1 is called the anchoring effect. You know, when you're in a store and you see a shirt that used to cost, I don't know, 39 euros, and next to it you see another one that costs 89. This trick is done because that's how the brain works. By comparison, I don't know, something looks better, but compared to what? Compared to something else? Or is it more expensive or less expensive compared to another one next to it, a reference? This becomes a problem in the decision-making process when buying. So what do I do to get you to buy? I put a similar product next to it, but much more expensive to make the first product seem much more convenient. Why? We compare. A t-shirt costs 90 or 89 euros, another is 39. This is a great deal, I'll take it. Actually, the other t-shirt is put there not so much to sell. Yes, of course I want to sell it too, but really to create this mechanism. And many times we don't stop to look at the single price of that t-shirt. Anyway, 39 euros is expensive for a t-shirt. Is it too much? Can I afford and need it? All these questions, when we're driven by impulse and emotions, we don't ask ourselves. So this is the first trick to watch out for when you're in supermarkets, when you're in stores, when you're online, because even online, we know that more on Amazon. When we go to buy a product, at a certain point on the page, there's a comparison with other products. And these things are not done by chance. This is a specific technique called mental anchoring, the mental anchor. Point 2, the discount bias, minus 20%, 30%, 70%, clear everything out, liquidate. When you see clear everything out, you think the store is closing. But why is it closing? Let's grab the last items since they're heavily discounted. They might sell out soon. How many times have you had this thought, this flash? See, that's exactly the strategy they use to make you buy and spend more. Because the discount activates a part of your brain that doesn't analyze it, okay? It's something that makes you react. Because when you see the number, what comes to your mind is, I'm getting a good deal. How often have you said this after buying something, maybe when talking to friends? No, but I got a great deal since it was on sale. And then another thing they always do to really make you feel the discount is to show you the regular price crossed out and then the discounted price below it. Why? Because you immediately see how much less you're spending. But what's the reality? It's that if you don't need that dress, that item, that thing, you're not saving, you're spending. It's true, you're spending maybe less than what that item normally costs. If you don't need it, you're not saving, you're spending. Because you actually save when you don't buy something you don't need. And this is really a trap, because I hear a lot of people who are convinced that saving means that, yeah, but I save 30%, 30 euros, this much. To save, if we look it up in the dictionary, means to set aside a part of our income for future emergencies or future commitments. People, however, obviously also thanks to marketing, of course, you're saving a certain amount, but the reality is that you're not saving, you're spending, okay? Why? Because you're letting yourself be attracted by that discount to buy something you don't need and won't use, so you're spending money that you otherwise wouldn't have spent. This is what saving means, not buying things you don't need. It doesn't mean making sacrifices, because to me, saving also means buying nice things. A few things, but of quality, bought with awareness. Maybe I saved up money because it's that thing I know I need and want it. It's my goal. I save money gradually and buy myself something quality. So I avoid spending money on junk that breaks in 2 seconds. But I do it with awareness, and I don't fill myself with useless things I don't need, so I don't waste money on useless stuff. Okay, this is my idea of saving. So when these situations come up, remember that if you don't need something, you're not saving, you're just spending money. Point 3, urgency. Today only, in 24 hours it's over. Countdown. How often do we see this online? So many times, even when we have to buy plane tickets, train tickets, we have to book vacations, we have to buy concert tickets. Why is this done? Because the sense of urgency gives you that feeling of missing out, of losing an opportunity, and it pushes you to buy. Imagine you're buying a plane ticket where they give you a nice discount, maybe 30% off the full price. The other price, highlighted in yellow, maybe in a nice bright color, so it's marked down by 30% and a 10-minute countdown timer next to it. What do? I click buy, because I'm afraid that tomorrow that ticket might be 30% more expensive. This is a killer strategy, I would call it killer. But be careful, guys, you have to use it consciously, because many times when it's like this, okay, try to stop for a moment. Maybe you really need to do that thing urgently, and that's fine. But try to repeat the process. Maybe after half an hour, you'll find the same thing. Okay. And that's because urgency pushes you to buy. If you think about a commercial they show on television for very famous sofas, they always use this strategy. Because every offer they have expires on Sunday, only until Sunday. Okay, so this week, these 2 weeks, there's this discount. If you don't come right away, you'll miss it and risk spending more money. But the reasoning is the same as we said before, because maybe you don't even need that thing, so you're just spending money. Okay, don't let yourself get fooled, because if you don't need that thing, you don't have to go get it just because it's on sale. That's the problem to avoid. Another little side note I want to make. When this happened to me personally, especially online, when you go to cancel a certain service, even a streaming one, especially a subscription or any service, if you go through the process to cancel the subscription, what happens? If you've noticed, it's not like you just cancel, boom, that's it, good job, you've cancelled, we're happy, goodbye. No, before you actually cancel, you have to go through at least 3 pages. 3 pages where they tell you, look, are you sure you're losing all these benefits? For example, you keep clicking yes to remove it, ignoring their questions about benefits, and they keep asking if you're sure. And in the end, a lot of times it happened to me that they offered me an amazing discount, many times even 50% off. If I'm aware, obviously, here. If you want to cancel it and it's useless, okay, cancel it. But even if you don't want to cancel it, try doing this procedure, even if you don't actually go through with it in the end. Try to see if they offer you another deal and make you pay much less just to keep you from leaving. Because they have every interest in keeping you hooked, especially with subscription services. It doesn't matter. I might charge you less for 6 months or a year, but I still keep you hooked. Now, if I still use that service, I'm aware of what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to bother you, I don't cancel, but I accept that offer, and in the end, I spent much less, maybe for a year. Okay, try doing this and let me know later, maybe on Instagram. By the way, if you don't follow me on Instagram, do it now. Fabio Marchione 81. Let me know if you've tried this. It's happened to me often, especially with the music service I use for my videos. I wanted to cancel it. I was tempted back and forth. I went and they offered me a 50% discount, so I basically paid nothing. I said, well, I'll keep it for another year because after all, it's a service I need from time to time. Boom, a lot less money spent. Let's move on to point number 4, which is the sunk cost. How many times have you kept spending just because you had already spent before? Maybe you promised yourself that this week you would take it easy because you were dealing with a lot of expenses. Maybe you had to deal with some unexpected things. It's a tough time, I shouldn't spend. Then maybe you let yourself get tricked by a small expense and psychologically you say, okay, I screwed everything up. I keep spending feeling like I've ruined everything just for making a small purchase. And as a result, that day or that week, you do some crazy damage, or maybe not, but still you spend money you shouldn't be spending. Just because in your mind you tell yourself, okay, I made that small gesture and I ruined everything. I totally understand this when it comes to dieting, for example, because sometimes it happens to me. I say, okay, today I want to eat healthy, this week I want to eat healthy, then maybe you eat 2 cookies, and you say, oh, well, screw it. By now the day's over, it's just passing by. Who cares? Then I overeat at lunch and dinner too. That's totally wrong, both for dieting and for money. I know it's not easy because exactly when it comes to food and nutrition, sometimes I fall for it too, but this is definitely a mental trap that often gets us. Now, that small action doesn't necessarily have to ruin all the work we've done. I mean, for a month, for a week, maybe it's just a small slip up that we can easily recover from by bringing our focus back to the goal. Now, guys, this is often the difficulty. When we want to reach a goal, why is it difficult? Why doesn't everyone manage to change their life? Getting results, reaching your goals, because it's easy to sometimes stray, to lose your way. No, maybe there's that day when things go wrong, you're nervous, something happens, you lose focus and you throw everything away. So this is normal. In my life, I've tried to reach and have reached a lot of goals, and it's a pattern that repeats itself very often. The difficulty is exactly this, losing focus a bit and then bringing ourselves back, having the discipline to bring ourselves back to the goal. You lose it a bit, bam, and I go back there because I have a strong motivation to reach that goal. If you're strongly motivated to build financial stability now, maybe by starting an emergency fund, because you're tired of living paycheck to paycheck, struggling, maybe barely making it to the end of the month, going crazy trying to make ends meet. Well, this is something you'll have to do constantly. Keep this in mind. You need to be aware that it's part of the journey, but that doesn't mean you can't make it. Okay, it's simply a matter of boom, bringing the focus back to the goal. Quick side note about myself. I'm going on a bit, but guys, we're here to chat. So lately, I've really felt like expressing and sharing what's inside me. Some of you, especially since I started making these talking videos again, criticize me saying, Fabio, you've already said this. Find something new. You're repeating yourself. So guys, these videos, sometimes when I repeat things, it's exactly for this reason, because so often we forget the basics. We get caught up in everyday life and we lose sight of the important things. We lose lessons that maybe we applied during a certain period that gave us results. But as we move forward on our journey, we lose them, we forget them, and we stop getting results. These videos, where I may repeat myself, are made for this purpose. Because maybe if you're in a moment where you've lost a bit of focus, and by me repeating these things, I bring your focus back to your goal, which is financial stability. If you're here on this channel, that's the reason. So that's also why I do it. Plus, new subscribers join daily and may not have seen videos from 2 years ago. And so sometimes I also go over topics that I've covered a bit in the past, but that's also another reason, because I know that people need someone to help them get back in focus, to refocus on their own goal. So guys, come on, be good, don't criticize me. I know I've said these things before, but it's been a long time. Point number 5, the herd effect. This too, because all these things I'm telling you, if you're passionate about marketing, okay, It's the book by Robert Cialdini on marketing, which is a very, very, very famous book. These are marketing strategies that are very famous. They've been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. What is the herd effect? Everyone does it, so I do it too. Try looking online at the reviews. They show you how many people have bought it, how many people have left reviews. They are constantly there. There are testimonials from other people who bought the product and maybe speak well of it. In the same way, for example, lately I noticed that on Facebook, when there are pages, maybe ads, at the top it tells you if any of your friends follow that page, maybe they follow that company or that product. Why? Why? You say to yourself, wow, but look, there are also 5, 6, 7 of my friends who follow it. Wow, I'll follow it too. I'll buy it too, right? This is the herd effect, meaning showing that there are many other people doing that particular thing, which often is also a matter of safety. Because if there are many people relying on that particular service, it means that it's a reliable service. So it's not something that's often said like it's a lie or something exaggerated, or I don't know. They claim 3,000 people are doing it, but that's not true. Normally, that's not the case, at least. In my experience, I've never seen companies, including those I've worked with, falsify this data. These are real data, but they highlight them to show you that there are other people who have used that product or that service. I repeat, the important thing is to be aware of what you're doing. So everyone uses these techniques, they always use them because it's part of the game. What you need to do is buy consciously, spend consciously. Point number 6, this is really powerful. The need for immediate gratification. Most people spend a lot of money on silly things for 3 euros, 5 euros, 10 euros for this, for immediate gratification. Because when you're frustrated, unhappy with your job, or sad because you have money problems, to give yourself immediate gratification, to give yourself a small reward, to feel good, or at least better, it's a bit of an illusion, but of course you think you're feeling better. What do? You buy a small gift thinking it's only 5 euros, so it's fine. It's not like I'm doing any real damage, okay? But if you repeat this many times in a month, it adds up. Maybe it becomes 50 or 100 euros, and those 50 or 100 euros, unfortunately today when our purchasing power has really become nothing, it matters a lot, and many brands take advantage of this. I don't know, but look, Temu is out there. Temu is a place where you can buy anything for just a few bucks. And so people are like, whatever, it's just 3 euros, whatever, it's just 4 euros, just add it in, whatever. And then maybe, hey, if you reach a certain amount, you get free shipping, go ahead, add it in. Stuff that costs next to nothing and breaks after 30 seconds, things you don't even need, just wasted money. This is the effect of instant gratification, that little rush of dopamine, that little burst of happiness to make you feel better, which is actually just something that's making you spend money. So the trick when we're faced with something like this, when we feel like we're about to do something like this, is to ask ourselves, do I really want it? Or am I just doing it because I'm sad, because today is a bad day, because I'm feeling frustrated? If that's the reason, believe me, avoid making that purchase, avoid it. You'll realize that after 10 minutes, 15 minutes at most, thinking about it, you'll say to yourself, wow, I did the right thing, because in the end, that thing was really useless. And I know it's counterintuitive, this thing is counterintuitive because you think, okay, it's hard for me, or just a small amount of money or basic salary. In theory, I should be very careful, I shouldn't spend, but instead what we do. Sometimes it's a bit the opposite, exactly because making purchases makes us feel better, you know, as if we had money. This thing happens, especially when you get your salary. When I used to get my salary, I've repeated it in a lot of videos. The first thing I did was stop at the first shopping mall between work and my house. I would walk around and buy some useless stuff. And what did this do? It made me have less money. So I know it's a bit of a twisted mechanism, but unfortunately the human mind is often very complicated. Point number 7, marketing. Sensory elements, lights, music, balls, sense colors, all these things, so many of them are often present when we enter stores. They're all created to get you to spend more, to maybe spend more time in the store, because the more time you spend in the store, the more likely you are to buy. For example, IKEA, who among you has ever been to IKEA? Raise your hand. I imagine everyone has been to IKEA. It's not like a supermarket where you're free to walk around however you want. I mean, if I want to go from here straight to the last department, or to the first, or to the third, IKEA, you're forced to go through the whole tunnel. Why? Because I have to be sure that you leave my store with something in your hand. I mean, at the end of the day, at the end of the tour, when you arrive, even where there are little things for 3 or 4 euros, 99% of people fall for it. And this is done on purpose, to make you spend more time, to show you everything I have, and sooner or later you'll find something. Because even if you don't have money, I show you that you need school supplies, pasta, or I don't know, a glass, this, that, and I still get you to spend. The same thing happens on websites too, especially on e-commerce sites. Alright, now let's take the biggest one, Amazon. Anyway, I keep making you click on other sections, okay? I have to keep you in there because the longer I keep you in my store, the more money you'll spend, the more to spend money or to add things to your cart. Okay, so here too, you really have to be stronger than these things. You have to be stronger and buy what you need. You go on Amazon because you need that thing, go buy that thing. Even if you spend 15 euros more, you get free shipping. It doesn't matter because even with the shipping costs, you still spend less. Maybe you're at 30 euros and with shipping it's 35, but you need to spend 50 for free shipping. Where do I spend less? If I spend 35 or if I spend 50? If I spend 35. But this is also something that leads us to spend more. So guys, we need to be careful. I repeat, this doesn't mean that we shouldn't spend, that we must not. I mean, because sometimes in the comments you guys come and bother me with these things, but that's not how it is. Honestly, I buy things and treat myself, but I do it responsibly. That's what matters. That said, guys, I really went on for a long time in this video, but I truly hope I stirred something in you. I hope I gave you some ideas to avoid these traps so you can live and spend more consciously. If I did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, comment, and share this video with your friends. Send it on WhatsApp, on Telegram. I don't know which channels you use, but show this video to the people around you who maybe every time say, "Damn it, I got my paycheck and in a week it's already gone." This is a very common thing and I try to help people avoid it. So by sharing it, you can only do good. That said, guys, see you around.